Hello, you're watching Entertainment Week. Coming up on the show. British rock royalty Johnny Marr reveals the inspiration behind his new album. Mackenzie Crook on how a passion for metal inspired his latest series. Rising soul star Kwabs performs his latest single here in the studio. And can Ben Affleck's Gone Girl live up to the hype? We'll give you our verdict. First, risque pop stars have been getting protective parents hot and bothered for years, but recently there's been growing concerns about the impact raunchy music videos have on young minds. Now, 3 major UK labels, as well as YouTube and Vivo, have signed up to a scheme which introduces age ratings for videos online. Here's just some of the artists and clips that have been causing offence.
Big booty, but you got a big booty. Big booty, but you got a big booty. Oh my gosh, look at her butt. Oh my gosh, look at her butt. That's how we ball out. That's how we ball out. I never hit so hard in love. All I wanted was to break your walls.
Well, I'm joined now by Associate Editor of the Sunday Times magazine, Chrissy Morrison, and the singer Kwabs. Great to see you both. Chrissy, what do you think of the new initiative? Is it any good?
I can't really see how it's going to work, if I'm honest. I mean, this has always been the way. Music videos have always caused controversy. You know, when I was at school, it was Britney Spears.
Madonna.
Madonna before that. So this isn't a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. What's different is that before, TV controllers could decide what time of the day or night they were going to run things, and that control's gone now. But I also think we have to put it in perspective that in the scheme of things that kids can go out and readily find on the internet, a little bit of naked flesh, or a lot of naked flesh.
I was going to say, a little bit of naked flesh. We saw a lot of naked flesh on that. Your videos are definitely not as bad as any of these. I mean, what do you think? Would you be happy to have age ratings on your videos?
I think it's a nice idea, but I think in practice it doesn't sound like it would really work. I don't think you can control everything, and I think, like you were saying, you know, ultimately you end up with a situation where you make the restricted stuff feel really kind of enticing, and kind of you give it an allure that maybe you don't want to be there.
So you think some artists will try their best to be as salacious as possible to get that 18 rating?
Hey, I wouldn't put it past some people. I think you know. You don't want to make it something that is a desirable status, you know. You know, I think the videos, they're art, you know. Some people would say, but I think ultimately, if you have a problem with what's inside the videos, you know, the idea that they're misogynistic or violent, then it's more about educating young people as to what the correct way to think about those things or behave is, rather than just cutting off all viewing of those things. It doesn't make any sense. And
at the moment, this is only voluntary, and it's also only there for UK artists. Some of the worst offenders are the Americans, aren't they? So in some ways, it sounds a bit toothless.
There are many flaws in this plan. Only for UK artists, only the 3 major record labels have signed up. And thinking back to the most controversial videos when I was young, actually a lot of them came out on the independent labels. And also it only goes through, it's only things being shown on Vivo and YouTube. Those are the ones that have signed up to it at the moment. So there are so many other ways to access these videos without this rating on them if you wanted to. And actually, if the idea of this is to make parents better informed, then surely that's the potential of giving a very mixed message of what is and isn't appropriate.
Thank you both so much. And Kwabs will be hearing your new single at the end of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Time now to catch up on the rest of the week's entertainment news. There is flash photography coming up. Radio DJ Dr. Fox was arrested over allegations of sexual assault against 2 women. He's vowed to clear his name. George Clooney married British lawyer Amal Alamuddin at a star-studded wedding in Venice. The happy couple waved to onlookers and photographers after making their marriage official at the town hall. Lindsay Lohan made her West End debut in Speed the Plough to a mixed reception after forgetting a line one critic called her a bit of an embarrassment. It took just 14 minutes for the first batch of tickets for Glastonbury 2015 to sell out. The headliners won't be announced until next year. And a local council inadvertently painted over a Banksy mural after complaints it was offensive and racist. It was thought to be worth around £400,000. Not many of our guests can lay claim to the title Godlike Genius, but that's exactly the award the NME bestowed on Johnny Marr last year. The guitarist influenced generations of musicians as the founding member of one of Britain's most seminal bands, The Smiths, as well as bringing his talents to groups like Electronic and The Cribs. But it was only in 2013 that he finally released his own album, and he's clearly got a taste for the solo life as he's already back with another. And Johnny Marr joins us now. Johnny, lovely to see you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Now, 2 solo albums in 2 years. Why on earth did it take you so long to go solo?
I was busy doing lots of other things that I really enjoyed. All the bands that I've been in were great fun and real commitment. It wasn't a matter of there was a solo career in waiting or something that I always aspired to. I was just really happy doing what I was doing. I really loved the collaborations, and then I just wanted to do something different, so I made my own record.
It's quite philosophical. I mean, what do you want people to bring away from the album? Because there's stuff about consumerism in there, there's stuff about the pursuit of money.
Basically, I was wondering whether the things that we pursue to possibly escape boredom, loneliness, detachment, all these things, whether in fact that pursuit is the reason why we have those symptoms in the first place. So there's a song called This Tension, you know, so the idea really is like that we live in this kind of cultural loop, like we're chasing to get away from something that is actually caused by the chase. And, you know, you've got to sing about something, right?
So you've influenced so many young artists, and you can see your influence in a lot of their sounds, but maybe not so much in the sentiment. It seems that young musicians don't have as much to say as you did and you do now. I mean, why do you think that is?
I don't know whether they don't have as much to say. I think just maybe what I'm saying is a bit more overt. I think I'm singing perhaps more directly about what I see in society. You know, a song like Easy Money, for example, on the face of it is a pop tune, and I was very interested in writing something really catchy because I thought to write something a bit downbeat about money would be somewhat slightly kind of pompous. So I like the idea of writing and wrapping it up in a pop tune. But there is the underlying, you know, I do mention tuition fees or cash for a degree in there, and I do mention people making the money on the streets, and so in that way, I guess there are some sociological, political messages snuck in a pop tune. And I come from a time when a lot of people did that. In the early 80s, it was almost, there was almost an unspoken ideology amongst all the indie bands, say, that we were all on the same page. And literally the music press as well, we're all on the same page, and that was fairly anti-establishment. I thought maybe now that maybe it's considered like passé or, God forbid, dangerous or anything like that. I'm not really flying a flag for anything like that. I'm just trying to sing what I'm interested in and hopefully sing something that, or address topics that people who like me can relate to. I
mean, do you think with the election coming up next year, it's more important than ever for artists, musicians to get involved, to make their voice heard?
I'd like to think so, yeah. You know, if it's a rock musician or a film director, getting across some views that might otherwise be, say, stifled, then, especially to a young audience, then great. Someone's got to make fun of the establishment, I think.
And you must obviously get asked about the Smiths all the time. Do you find that flattering, or do you find it quite frustrating when you're wanting to talk about other things?
I understand it. I mean, ultimately, I think if you've been lucky enough to be in a band that people really love, okay, and that are successful, then it's somewhat churlish to, you can't really be bitching about it, really, you know, I mean, what more do you want? I'm all right because I'm, personally, because I'm happy with making new stuff, you know. It might be, because my focus is on new stuff, it's all just part of what I'm doing, you know, so people are really nice about it usually. I mean, it'd be worse if people were kind of slagging it off, you know.
Which they're certainly not. And finally, I mean, are you ever surprised about the legacy that the Smiths have got?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because when we started out, the Smiths, we were singing, playing quite unusual music. You know, as soon as the early stuff, right, as soon as we started out was pretty uncompromising and odd sounding things, and it broke into the mainstream and became very popular. But I wasn't expecting for a minute that, 100 years later, that I'd be being asked about it. And it's an amazing thing. I'm very, very proud of it, and people still love it and still sounds pretty good.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to have you on. Johnny Marr, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Coming up, could the cast of The Office reunite? Mackenzie Crook is here to respond to the rumours. And we give our verdict on one of the year's most anticipated movies, Gone Girl. From Office oddball to Pirate of the Caribbean, Mackenzie Crook's career has been nothing if not varied. And the inspiration for his latest role is typically off the wall, playing a metal enthusiast in The Detectorists, a new series he's written, directed and also stars in.
Where you got Roman, who's to say you haven't got Saxon as well? We all know there's a Saxon ship burial somewhere in this part of the county. We just got to find it first.
Saxon hoard. It's basically the holy grail of treasure hunting.
Well, no, the Holy Grail is the Holy Grail of treasure hunting.
Well, you're going to be pedantic. The Ark of the Covenant is the Holy Grail.
And Mackenzie joins me now. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Now, this new show is about metal detectors.
Yes.
It's an unlikely source of inspiration. Why? Why did you choose those?
I mean, I've always been fascinated by people and their pastimes and their hobbies and the way they use their spare time and get very obsessed and immersed in their interests. And I chose metal detecting as the subject, but it could easily have been some other hobby, you know, fishing or something else. But it's essentially a story of two guys, they're very good friends, and their lives and their relationships, but they escape at the weekends into this all-absorbing hobby.
And not all metal detectors have been very happy about your characterisation of them, have they?
They're really just assuming that I'm going to be poking fun at them, and I'm honestly not. And I really hope that they watch it, and I really hope that they see that immediately, that it's an affectionate look at a pastime that I'm really into as well, and I'm really interested. So, yeah, it was never the intention to take the mickey, and I think they're just worried. I think perhaps they're used to being portrayed as anoraks or whatever, but this doesn't do that, so they'll be all right.
Because you've had a fantastic few years. We've seen you in Pirates of the Caribbean, also Game of Thrones, and now you've come back to Britain to do this new series. Was it nice to come back, and how different is it to work on something like this when you've been on these huge blockbuster productions?
Yeah, I mean, we had the most idyllic 6 weeks in the English countryside making it, and you know, I've done these massive projects, but I've quite often found that it's the smaller projects that people put most of themselves into it. Sort of, they're not doing it for the money because there isn't much money there. So everyone who gets involved in it gets involved because they like the project and they're passionate about it. And so the atmosphere on set is usually a lot better on low budget things than it is on the big blockbusters. So it was a delight, yeah.
I suppose it's wonderful being able to do both and to mix it up.
Absolutely, yeah. In the last few years, I've had time in my life going from one thing to another, and different sizes of productions and completely different styles.
We're going to see David Brent, the movie, in the next couple of years, we believe. Will you be involved in that?
I don't think so. Nobody's been in touch, and I really don't think they will. But yeah, I'm fascinated to see that as well. I mean, that's going to be about the life of David Brent post The Office. You know, I really don't think he's going to go back and visit Tim and Dawn and Gareth and see what they're up to, because they won't be interested in that.
unfortunately. And what about Pirates of the Caribbean?
Well, there is apparently, well, they're getting together a 5th one at the moment, and my agent has been contacted to see if I'm available, which I potentially am next year. So that's as far as it's gone at the moment, but we'll see. So yeah, maybe I'll be back.
Back on a beach, how wonderful.
Yeah.
From rainy Britain to the Caribbean. Well, Mackenzie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Time now to see what's on at the cinema this weekend. And if there's one film everyone is talking about, it's Gone Girl, starring Ben Affleck.
So, your wife has no friends here. Is she kind of standoffish? Ivy League? Rubs people the wrong way?
She's from New York. She's complicated. She's got very high standards.
Type A? Well, that can make you crazy if you're not like that. You seem pretty laid back. Type B. Speaking of which, Amy's blood type.
God, I don't know. I have to look it up at the house.
You don't know if she has friends, you don't know what she does all day, and you don't know your wife's blood type.
Sure y'all are married?
Film critic Rihanna Dillon joins me now to give her verdict. Rihanna, I have read the book to this. I haven't seen the film yet. People are raving about it. Is it fair? Is it any good?
OK, so I am in the same boat as you. I read the book before going to see the film, and if you're also in that boat, I think you might walk out like I did, finding it a little bit flat, just because the whole point of Gone Girl is this amazing psychological thriller with so many twists and turns. I mean, every possible scenario you could think of is sort of in there, whether it's in your imagination or it's actually in the film. So if you know what's coming, it does ruin it a little bit.
Because there are so many films where, in some ways, we know the endings, and it doesn't ruin it.
No, of course not. I mean, films like The Fault in Our Stars, that was incredible. I didn't feel flat coming out of that at all. Whereas in this, although the performances are amazing, Rosamund Pike, notably, has been talked about a lot because she is such a blank canvas, I think. I think that's why David Fincher really went for her, and that's why she's perfect as Amy. Nick and Amy's marriage looks perfect on the outside. Inside, it's just completely rotten.
You said she's a blank canvas.
Yes.
Why?
Because I think she never really gives anything away. She always seems quite cool, quite calm, quite calculated, and as Amy, that's exactly what she needed to be. So I don't think that fans of the book will be disappointed with her performance.
OK, earlier in the week we spoke to Rosamund Pike, who plays Amy Dunn.
The toll it took on me was quite profound because there's, you know, I had to play Amy at different stages. I also had to do some weight gain and weight loss multiple times during the 6 months that we were filming. And that takes a certain physical toll on the body. And sort of mentally, I just was totally immersed in that world for a long time.
So that's interesting. She's talking about the toll it took on her physically and mentally, because it's an incredibly intense story, isn't it?
It is. And as an audience member, you are going to go through a lot with these characters. You go on a real journey with Nick, played by Ben Affleck, who I think is spot on as an all-American guy who, you know, has kind of lost his way a little bit, or quite a lot. But I just love the suspense and the tension that's built up throughout. I think it's a really, really interesting thriller. It's
but possibly not for people who've read the book.
Possibly not. Obviously, that's not the film's fault.
OK, next film is Dracula Untold. Before you give us your verdict, let's take a look.
Sure. No, stop it! May God strike down whoever did this to you.
I chose this.
This is the strength you sought? But why?
Because I sent corpses back to Mehmet instead of our son.
So Dracula has been told so many times over the years. What new does this tell us, or what does it do that no one else has?
OK, so it started, I suppose we all know the Bram Stoker version of Dracula, but he actually took his inspiration from Vlad the Impaler, you know, a real character in life. He was really quite vicious and killed a lot of people, and this is where this story comes from. So it's kind of gone right back. It's almost like a Marvel origin story in that sort of way. It goes almost like Greek mythology at times, because they do some really quite epic battles you can see going on behind me. It's not so much horror, even though it looks quite terrifying. I loved how passionate Luke Evans got in this film as Dracula. He obviously tried to do so much with it, and I think it really worked because he wasn't the sort of pale-faced demon that we all imagine when we think of Dracula. He's that quite sexy, sophisticated, very strong man.
Brilliant. A sexy vampire, we like that.
We
Okay,
love
and
that.
finally, Life After Beth. What's this all about?
Okay, so you know that whole newish genre of a zombie rom-com. They've done it again. This time, though, with Aubrey Plaza, who I think is a fantastic comedian. She's very, very good as Beth. She's very deadpan, which works really well as playing a zombie. It will make you smile. I'm not sure it's going to make you laugh loads.
So film of the week, it's got to be Gone Girl,
It's got to be
hasn't
Gone
it?
Girl, of course it is.
Thank you very much, Rihanna.
Thank you.
That's nearly all for this week. On next week's show, British pop diva Jessie Ware will be performing here in the studio, and Kelly from Block Party will be telling us about life after the band and his new solo album. But before we go, we're joined in the studio by the hotly tipped soul singer Kwabs, who's here to play us out with his new single, Walk.
Gotta slow up, gotta shake this high. Gotta take a minute just to ease my mind. Cause if I don't walk, then I get caught out. And I'll be falling all the way down. 100 headlights making me blind. All of your pleasures catching my eye. If I jump once, then I never think twice. But your temptation making me stay another night. And my senses only lie to me, lie to me. I don't know how it feels so right to me, right to me. I gotta change myself before I get what I want. Find out it's not what I thought it was. And you know why I gotta slow up, gotta shake this high. Gotta take a minute just to ease my mind. Cause if I don't walk, then I get caught out. And I'll be falling all the way down. Turn my head and shut my eyes. Doesn't even matter if I'm wrong or right. Cause if I don't walk, I keep messing around. And I'll be falling all the way down. Hey. Tell myself leave while I'm still strong. Don't look back till I'm 10 miles gone. And when the road stops, I'm gonna keep on until I end up in the place that I belong. But the pressure pushing me back again, telling me not to pretend there's any use even trying to get you out my head. So I lift my feet off the ground and I'm gonna walk right out. Gotta slow up, gotta shake this high. Gotta take a minute just to ease my mind. Cause if I don't walk, then I get caught out. And I'll be falling all the way down. Turn my head and shut my eyes. Doesn't even matter if I'm wrong or right. Cause if I don't walk, I keep messing around. And I'll be falling all the way down. Won't get caught in the old fly trap. Run away, never come back.